Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we are undertaking a deep dive into an extraordinary story. It really plunges us into the depths of the Holocaust. But, our true focus here is the labyrinthine nature of honesty, survival, and, well, ultimate reckoning.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is that the sources frame this whole thing as being guided not by, like, a human historian, but by a personified concept, truth.
Truth itself.
Exactly. The narrative sort of positions itself as this necessary act of chronicling events of great consequence. And it's all centered on this one boy who first embodied and then irrevocably broke the very idea of pure, unvarnished truth.
That's quite an ambitious start, isn't it? It immediately signals, layers of deception, profound philosophical stakes.
Definitely.
So the mission here, as I see it, is to navigate this chaos of survival, but through the lens of this unique narrator, truth. Trying to understand how even the smallest lie can shatter a family, and how, perhaps ironically, the biggest lie might become a path to atonement.
Right. And before we get into the characters who are deeply, deeply intertwined, we really need to anchor ourselves in the setting. This beautiful, but ultimately doomed world of Salonika.
Salonika, or Thessaloniki, as it's
Yeah.
also known. Such a historical heart for this story.
Absolutely. We're talking about a major port city right there on the agency, goes way back, established around 300 BCE. But the sources, they don't just mention it as a place, they really emphasize its unique, almost impossible harmony back then.
That's the key differentiator, I think. It wasn't
Yeah.
just, different cultures coexisting side by side. They thrived together.
Mm-hmm.
The sources detail how the Jewish, Christian, and Muslim communities were so interwoven, so stable, that the city actually observed 3 distinct bank holidays every single week.
Every week?
Yeah. Friday for Muslims, Saturday for Jews, Sunday for Christians. It was historically one of the most vibrant Jewish cities in the entire Mediterranean, a world of stability, tradition that was just about to be utterly obliterated.
And that stability, it's kind of symbolized by a key landmark, isn't it? The White Tower. It features pretty heavily in the protagonist's youth and later survival.
The White Tower, right, that 15th century fortress.
Yeah.
Originally Ottoman, I think.
That's right. It stood as the symbol of the city's enduring strength, its defense. And yeah, it pops up in young Nico's earliest memories and ends up becoming this almost spiritual marker for his journey, the atonement that follows the war.
Okay, so let's introduce this foursome whose lives are going to be just fundamentally warped by the conflict that's coming. First, the boy right at the center of it all, Nico Krispis.
Nico. He's introduced as Kioni, which is Greek for snow.
Snow? Why snow?
Well, it was a nickname given because people saw him as having this almost pristine, untouched soul, incapable of malice or, deceit. The source says that until he was 11 years old, he literally never told a lie.
Wow, never.
Never. This idea of pure, unfiltered honesty, it was championed by his beloved grandfather, Lazar. It's like his defining characteristic at the start.
And we should definitely note the specific physical details the source gives us, because they become absolutely central to his survival later on.
Oh, yeah.
Nico's got features the Nazis will later covet: blonde hair, blue eyes, a pleasing look that, completely belies his Jewish heritage. And he's naturally gifted, too. Picks up languages easily, talented at drawing.
Which contrasts sharply with his older brother, Sebastian Krispis.
Right.
Sebastian's the serious one, dark-haired. And he carries that classic sort of older brother's envy of his seemingly pampered, angelic younger sibling. But the sources are really clear on this. Despite any rivalry, Sebastian's devotion to his family is absolute. Fierce, even. He's the pragmatist in the family, the protector.
And Sebastian's greatest devotion, perhaps outside the family, is reserved for Fannie Namias.
Fannie is. Described as a shy girl whose features were, just starting to bloom when all this tragedy struck, Fannie is like the emotional anchor. Her innocence is just brutally shattered on that cattle car journey, which leads to her desperate, fateful leap.
We'll definitely get into that leap. And finally, the human face of the destruction, Udo Graf, an SS Hauptsturmführer.
Yeah, Udo Graf. The narrative makes a point of showing us his malice isn't just like ideological hate out of nowhere. It's born from personal bitterness.
Right.
He's presented as a real loner, someone driven to the wolf's cause, that's how the source puts it, after his mother left his father for a Jewish man, and his father subsequently took his own life.
So that trauma creates this vacuum, filled by ideological hatred. He finds in Nazism a channel for his confusion and rage, a clear enemy to blame.
Exactly. And he gets sent to Salonika specifically to execute the plan to rid the city of its Jews. He sees it as his personal chance for glory, for validation.
So the stage is just tragically set for the collapse of this centuries-old community.
And the speed of it all, the descent is terrifying. 1941, the German forces arrive. They'd overwhelmed the Greek defenses against Italy, which had initially been successful, remember?
Right, the Greeks had held out for a while.
Yeah, but the Germans changed everything. Lev Krispis, Nico and Sebastian's father, he comes home from fighting, and the source says he looks 10 years older. He doesn't bring hope. He brings his visceral understanding of the enemy. They're not coming. They're here.
Chilling. And the restrictions just escalate with this horrible rapidity. It signals a shift from just occupation to calculated systemic destruction.
And the sources highlight these moments of deep symbolic humiliation, starting with the Black Sabbath in Liberty Square, July 1942.
Black Sabbath. Tell us about that.
It was just this calculated act of psychological warfare, went on for hours. 9,000 Jewish men, including Lev, rounded up, forced into grueling, endless calisthenics in the scorching heat.
Calisthenics? Like exercises?
Yeah, squatting, rising, marching in place, over and over. If they faltered, they were beaten with rifle butts, dogs were set on them. The real purpose, to just dismantle their dignity, their faith, their sense of community.
It sounds like the Nazis imposing their own twisted version of truth, one without any humanity or hope.
That's exactly how the source frames it. And if that wasn't enough, the cruelty extended to the ultimate dishonor, the systematic desecration of the ancient Jewish cemetery.
Oh, the cemetery,
Right.
where Nico and Lazar used to go. What was it called? Cheese Shell Emet?
Cheese Shelamet. True and loving kindness, yeah. They'd clean the headstones. And then the Nazis.
Destroyed it.
Completely. 300,000 graves? Gone. Ransacked for gold teeth, valuables. And then the ultimate erasure. They sold the headstones themselves.
Sold them for what?
For building material, street pavements, sidewalks. Some were even incorporated into the walls of churches. It's just an overwhelming act of total disregard, aimed not just at the living, but at memory itself.
So crushing the spirit, erasing the past. And then came the economic stripping. Lev's tobacco business.
Right. Profitable business, systematically confiscated under this vile title, the Service for the Disposal of Jewish Property.
Just bureaucratic language for theft.
Pretty much. And then the eviction. Forced out of their cherished row house on Clyzuris Street. Relocated to the decrepit, already marginalized Baron Hirsch quarter.
Which quickly became a ghetto.
Exactly. Surrounded by barbed wire, wooden walls. It was originally meant for fire victims, I think, but it became a prison. That move from home to ghetto, it symbolizes the final loss of Lev's ability to protect his family. The start of just utter vulnerability.
And this leads us right to that pivotal, painful fracture point in the whole story.
Yeah.
Nico's first lie. His defining lie.
Yeah. He's hiding, isn't he, in his favorite crawl space under the stairs in their old home.
His old home, now occupied by Udo Graf.
Right, and Graf finds him there, but Graf is initially disarmed.
Yeah, the source suggests something interesting here. He sees the blonde hair, the blue eyes. And crucially, he sees Nico's lack of fear not as innocence, but as a sign of purity. Something Udo himself desperately seeks validation from.
It's a bit strange, isn't it, a seasoned SS officer being fooled like that?
Well, the source really leans into Udo's psychology. He's lonely, bitter, driven by personal grievance. Nico, looking angelic, maybe gives Udo this momentary illusion of control, a sense that not everything is hostile or dirty. He needed a sign, and Nico's face, maybe, gave him one.
Even after Nico admits he's Jewish, Udo still needs to see him as an exception, as Snow.
Exactly, and that's when the lie happens. Udo asks if he's hiding alone.
And Nico says yes, his first deliberate lie by omission. To protect Fannie, who was also meant to be hiding there.
Right. That small act, born of fear and protection, sets him on this path of deceit that lasts for decades. And Udo, intrigued, decides he's going to use Snow for his plan.
And that purpose is directly tied to the biggest deception of the whole war, isn't it? The lie of resettlement.
We really have to pause here, understand the sheer logistics of mass murder.
This is where, we need to think about the Wannsee Conference. That decision, made so quickly, so clinically, killed them all. But the scale of it, the final solution, it required immense logistics. And crucially, concealment.
Concealment, yeah. They couldn't risk millions realizing their fate. That would guarantee revolt, chaos.
Exactly. So the Nazis fabricated this grand falsehood, a mythical homeland in Poland, new jobs, apartments, reunited families, all lies to manage the movement of millions calmly onto the cattle cars.
And the cruelty of this lie seeped into private lives too. Sebastian.
Oh, yeah. Sebastian. Desperate to secure a better fate, he quickly marries a girl named Rivka, based purely on a rumor that married couples would get priority for flats in this supposed new homeland.
Such a devastating betrayal of his feelings for Fannie, an act of practicality that must have wounded him deeply.
And one he could never fully admit later, adding another layer of hidden truth of omission.
Then we get to that dreadful scene on the cattle car. August 10th, 1943. Packed in the dark, a large man tries to pull off the window grate, a sign of desperation.
And Sebastian realizes this is it, the last chance.
Yeah.
In this swift, desperate act, love, protection, who knows exactly what mix, he grabs Fannie, pushes her through that small opening, whispers he'll see her again.
An act of profound desperation, sealing her fate, for better or worse, but forcing her out of the immediate path of destruction.
But the train stops instantly. A gunshot rings out. The guards shoot the man who pulled the grate. Right in the head. Terror. Immediate submission from everyone left inside.
And now Nico. His accidental complicity. The thing that will haunt him forever.
Udo Graf forces him onto the platform, commands Snow to reassure the departing Jews, tell them they're going to jobs, family.
And Nico, still believing Udo's deception at this point, repeats the lie, unknowingly helping the transport run smoothly.
Until the truth hits him. Just before boarding, a large man, the same one who told Fannie to be good, to tell the world he grabs Nico, maybe sees his innocence, but knows the reality.
Stares right into his eyes.
And says those devastating words, "It's a lie, they're taking us to die."
That must have just shattered Nico's whole world. His grandfather's truth replaced instantly by this horrifying reality.
Absolutely, frozen in fear, realization. Then Udo Graf grabs him, forces him to stay behind. And Sebastian, watching from the train window,
sees it happen.
And registers it as final proof. His younger brother collaborating. It cements this deep, corrosive bitterness that will poison him for years.
So the lives of these four just immediately diverge, forced onto radically different paths of survival for the next couple of years.
Let's follow Fannie first. Her journey is incredible. After that violent fall from the train, hiding for hours, she's found.
By Gisela, right. The Hungarian seamstress.
Yeah, Gisela, a stout woman. And Fannie's rescued not by, political allies, but just by another human recognizing suffering. Gisela's own husband had died fighting for the Axis, but she shows incredible kindness, destroys Fannie's yellow star, hides her in a chicken coop.
The source describes their bond during the Nights of Hay. That's such a evocative phrase.
Isn't it? Communicating without shared language. Sharing grief, hope, just through gestures, shared experience. It's this little pocket of pure human connection surviving amidst all the ideological chaos.
But that purity doesn't last, does it? She's betrayed.
Yes. By a gray-haired neighbor, a customer of Gisela's, just picking up some shirts. Such a mundane betrayal.
Leads to her capture by the Arrow Cross. And we should probably clarify who they were.
Good point. The Arrow Cross, Hungary's own fiercely nationalist, anti-Semitic political movement, often acted with brutal independence, even from the Germans. So Fannie's thrust onto another cattle car, this time heading towards Budapest.
Which leads to that absolutely horrific scene on the Danube River, November 1944.
Yeah. Marched to the riverbank, forced to remove her shoes.
That detail is so chilling. Standard practice before execution, right? To take valuables.
Exactly. Tied to others. Prepared for summary execution by the Arrow Cross militia. She closes her eyes, ready to die.
And then she sees him.
Or someone who looks like him, wrapped in an SS officer's coat. A taller version of the only boy she'd ever kissed.
Nico. Or his double. In that uniform.
The shock of it, seeing someone resembling Nico, the boy she loved, in the uniform of their enemy, it's enough to make her pass out. It freezes that memory, that image, forever.
Meanwhile, Sebastian is confronting the brutal reality of Auschwitz-Birkenau, the lie of resettlement exposed in the most terrifying way possible.
Yeah, the sources describe the camp experience in just brutal detail. Forced labor, starvation, that specific rule. Walking was forbidden.
Forbidden to walk.
Only allowed to run or stand, never stroll, removing any shred of peaceful human motion, any dignity in movement.
And Sebastian's losses are just immediate, absolute.
Everyone. His grandmother Eva, gassed on arrival, his twin sisters, Anna and Elizabeth, taken for Mengelé's experiments, aunt and uncle, gone in the first winter. And he witnesses the spiritual breakdown too. His mother, Tana, dies of typhus. His father, Lev, eventually killed after a selection.
Creates a real spiritual crisis for him, doesn't it?
Completely. He refuses to pray, questions God's presence amidst such casual, systematic cruelty. Yet, the only prayer he holds on to, quietly, is for Fannie's safety.
But what's crucial for Sebastian, for his character, is the steel he develops. He learns survival.
He does. Earns praise from his father, Lev, for his strength right before Lev dies. But that strength gets fused with this escalating, poisonous bitterness towards Nico. He sees Nico as a knowing collaborator who chose comfort over family.
And Nico, the boy who fled that platform, believing he was a liar, responsible for everything.
He doesn't just disappear. He's taken in by a group of Romani refugees, led by a man named Papo, a masterful forger.
Ah, so this is where his talents get repurposed.
Weaponized, almost. His drawing skill, his knack for languages, he learns the very specialized intellectual art of creating false documents, passports, ration cards.
How do they do that?
Detailed techniques, wood blocks, lactic acid to age the paper, special inks. And Papo teaches him this crucial philosophy, the one that governs Nico's whole adult life. Sikohaimo me pachivalo saro chachimo.
Which means?
Some lies are easier to believe than the truth.
Wow, that's a complete inversion of his grandfather Lazar's teaching.
Totally. Nico stops seeing lies as moral failures, starts seeing them as strategic tools for survival, sometimes even, maybe, for good. He operates under aliases Hans Degler, Eric Ullman, uses his Aryan looks, his forged German uniform to travel across Europe, searching desperately for his lost family.
And in Hungary, he crosses paths with Catalin Karate.
The famous actress, glamorous, she saves him from a tricky situation with the drunk SS officer. Nico's captivated by her, by the escapism of cinema, and in return he helps her hide her valuables, jewelry, furs, before she gets arrested.
And that connection proves vital.
Absolutely, because when Nico, wearing that German uniform, spots Fannie by the Danube, he recognizes her instantly, knows the danger she's in.
So it was him she saw.
It seems so.
Yeah.
And he uses his connection to Catalin, uses her hidden valuables, the very things he helped hide, to bribe the Aerocross. He saves Fannie and 22 other children from execution.
His first major tangible act of, well, atonement through deception.
You could say that. A humanitarian act funded by hidden wealth, performed under a false identity.
The end of the war brings one final tragic intersection. Liberation Day. January 27th, 1945.
Sebastian survives the camp's destruction, hides in a wooden crate, ironically protected by the debris from Udo Graf blowing up the crematorium in haste.
And Nico arrives at Auschwitz, posing as a Polish Red Cross worker, Philip Gorka.
Yeah. He finally sees the full, horrific truth, validates that man's warning on the platform, and he finds his grandfather, Lazar, blind, skeletal in the infirmary.
A reunion, finally.
Not quite. Nico poses as a doctor to care for him, but all Lazar asks for is, my brave grandson, Sebastian, never Nico.
Aw, that's heartbreaking.
It cements everything for Nico. His failure, his guilt, he feels rightly abandoned. He leaves holding forged papers for a family that basically no longer exists.
The war ends, but the reckoning, that's just beginning. It stretches across decades, continents. The post-war echoes, as the source calls them, are filled with bitter irony, parallel deceptions.
Starting with Sebastian in 1946, back in Salonika, a city that isn't his anymore.
He confronts the man who stole their family home.
Yeah, a violent confrontation. Sebastian gets shot near the shoulder. He looks at the devastation and concludes, loss is universal. But that realization, it just fuels his rage, not compassion.
He and Fannie marry soon after that.
Driven by shared survival, shared tragedy, not passion, the source emphasizes, they flee to Crete. Sebastian literally builds their house high on a mountain, trying to construct this physical barrier against the world that betrayed him.
And that isolation allows his obsession to grow.
Completely. He dedicates his life to hunting Nazis, corresponds with the Nazi hunter in Vienna. He's determined to find Udo Graf, whose survival he'd heard confirmed through survivor rumors. Sebastian is driven purely by this quest for truth and vengeance.
But his own life, built on seeking truth, is riddled with omissions, isn't it?
Huge omissions. He hides the full extent of his Nazi hunting from Fannie. He never tells her about his rushed marriage to Rivka back in the ghetto. His devotion to Fannie now sits really uneasily next to his devotion to revenge.
And Fannie, equally scarred, is keeping her own secret.
Right. She never tells Sebastian she saw that figure resembling Nico at the Danube in the SS coat. She fears it would just destroy Sebastian's fragile peace. Their marriage is built on this foundation of silent, shared trauma and mutual deception.
Now let's talk about Udo Graf's survival. The irony is just staggering.
It really is. He uses the rat line.
The escape network for Nazis, often helped by sympathetic Catholic priests, right?
Exactly. Flees custody in Poland, gets into Italy, reemerges as George Mecklin, supposedly a Belgian immigrant.
And then the truly shocking geopolitical twist happens.
He gets recruited by the U.S. government, Washington, D.C.
Why on earth would they do that?
The Cold War. The perceived threat from the Soviet Union.
So anti-communism trumped war crimes.
Apparently so. The Americans prioritized anyone claiming anti-communist expertise. Udo spins this tale about his scientific and espionage skills totally fabricated, according to the source. The more he said communists, the more they believed him.
It's a profound indictment of post-war power politics, isn't it? Ideology over justice.
Absolutely. And Udo cements his position by murdering Agent Carter's mistress, ensuring the politician's loyalty through blackmail. He successfully integrates into American life, works on missile development, sees himself not as a fugitive, but as a warrior in hiding, waiting for the wolf's cause to rise again.
Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, Nico is living his own life of profound, almost pathological deceit in Hollywood.
Yeah, as Nathan Guedili. Nate. Financing blockbuster movies, he becomes incredibly rich, notoriously eccentric.
And the source analyzes his new identity really well, I thought. He's a pathological liar. Tells random, pointless lies to strangers.
It's like a constant performance, a distraction from his real self. He even gives his imaginary children the names Anna and Elizabeth, his lost twin sisters.
But that lying, paradoxically, is also the key to his success.
Yeah, the idea is a good liar knows what people want to watch. He creates fantasies for millions. But his real secret life is this continuous act of atonement.
His atonement, which is this massive contradiction.
Huge. He is the Nazi hunter's biggest anonymous funder, giving the hunter the kind of resources Sebastian can only dream of having.
And it's tied to that specific date, August 10th.
Every single year, the anniversary of his family's deportation, Nico flies overseas, tracks down families of survivors from his meticulous files, and sends them large sums of money.
He's performing cheesed shelamet, that true loving kindness his grandfather taught him.
But for complete strangers, funded by the profits of deception, it's incredibly complex.
While Sebastian hunts the man responsible, Fannie starts her own quiet search for truth, driven partly by unease with Sebastian's consuming rage.
She starts in Hungary, finds Gisela, the seamstress who saved her.
And Gisela confirms these strange annual money deliveries, always on August 10th.
Right. Fannie connects the date to her deportation, her rescue. It gives her the impetus to travel to New York City to find Catalin Karate.
The actress, now running a hat shop.
Yeah, quite a change. Catalin confirms the rescue of the 23 children, financed by her jewelry, which was provided by that mysterious, clever boy who went into movies. The man she suspects is Eric Ullman.
Eric Ullman, one of Nico's aliases.
Exactly. Catalin gives Fannie movie postcards, urges her to find the man who made these films, this financier. Fannie now holds the evidence linking the boy she loved to the man in the Nazi coat who saved her life.
Which sets the stage for this dramatic reconvergence in America, starting with Sebastian finally tracking down Udo Graf.
1978, Sebastian finds him at this, pitiful Nazi rally in Chicago. Sebastian's almost disappointed. Udo isn't leading some powerful resurgence. It's described as a circus.
But he recognizes him.
Recognizes Udo's unmistakable stiff walk. Sebastian yells his name across the room, confronts him with the simple truth, I know you're alive.
Takes photos too, right?
Over 20 photos, which eventually forces Udo into exile in Italy 3 years later, strips him of his American protection. Sebastian's long, obsessive quest finally bears fruit.
And in 1977, Fannie arrives in Los Angeles, takes a job in a diner, and then, through sheer chance, really.
A personnel shift, yeah. She becomes the private projectionist for the financier, for Nico.
And she uses that position to just observe him, his isolated, tormented life.
Sees the lowlights, the extreme anxiety, the constant stream of lies about his imaginary kids, Anna and Elizabeth.
But the crucial observation comes when she follows him.
To the Jewish cemetery, where she finds him, week after week, meticulously cleaning and tending the graves of complete strangers.
His hidden cheese shell emet.
Performed in secret, a silent testament to the man his grandfather tried to raise. Fannie realizes the liar is also the angel.
And for over a year, they maintain this painful silence.
Awkward, tense silence. Nico knows she knows, avoids confronting the past. Fannie stays quiet, terrified speaking the truth will make him flee again.
Until 1983. A storm outside Nico's apartment.
Fannie falls. And in that moment of vulnerability, she references a shared childhood memory from Salonika, running into the sea fully clothed when it rained.
That unlocks something in Nico.
Terror, mostly. He confirms Sebastian's friend told him about the commemoration march being planned back in Salonika. He panics, realizes the past is finally catching up, and then He kisses her.
Finally initiates contact.
Spontaneously. For the first time in their adult lives, he admits he has to leave. But she knows he's leaving to confront the final truth, back where it all began.
Sebastian, meanwhile, is organizing that commemoration March 15, 1983, 40th anniversary of the first deportation. He intends it as this massive public act of memory, defiance.
And Udo Graf down in Italy gets word, via his old contacts, a letter listing the speakers. And just 2 German words, beende.
Finish it.
Finish it. Finish it. Udo sees this assassination, killing Sebastian, maybe the Nazi hunter too, as his crowning act. His glorious return to the fight. He travels to Salonika in disguise. White wig, hat, even a white balloon.
A white balloon, it sounds almost clownish.
Bizarre camouflage. He goes to the train platform, the exact location of the original deception. Sebastian gives his speech, names his lost family, and then he tells his own massive lie, trying to give his community closure, safety.
What does he say?
He proclaims, Udo Graf is dead. He died a coward. He died alone.
And Udo hears this, hears his own death announced.
And loses it. The truth that he is alive is too much to hide. He screams, it's a lie. You're a liar. You lie. Rips off his disguise, pulls his gun.
9 seconds, that's all it takes.
9 terrifying seconds. And in that instant, Nico, who secretly returned to Salonika after Fannie broke their silence, he moves.
Pushes Sebastian out of the way.
Smothers him, pushes him clear. Takes the bullets meant for Sebastian, meant for the Nazi hunter.
His final words to Sebastian.
Just one word. Atoning.
Atoning. Sebastian, who spent 4 decades consumed by hatred, believing his brother betrayed them, forced to confront this ultimate truth of sacrifice, the lie that became truth.
And the final, complete truths emerge only after Nico's death. Fannie follows his instructions, finds film reels in his office.
His recorded testimony.
His whole life story. The lies, the survival, the full extent of his atonement, funding the Nazi hunter, tracking survivors, the August 10th payments, all of it.
Does he explain about Lazar?
Yes. Confesses he posed as a doctor just to be near his grandfather in those final days. Explains Lazar only ever asked for my brave grandson Sebastian, reinforcing Nico's lifelong guilt, his feeling that he had to stay away, that he was rightly abandoned.
And Udo Graf, what's his final reckoning?
Not at Sebastian's hand, it's more poetic justice. He's captured by Greek police, extradited to Germany. He's actually looking forward to the trial, thinking it will give him the stage he always craved.
But he doesn't make it.
No. On the train, a female attendant offers him red wine. She's wearing white gloves, a necklace of old red rosary beads. She's dissolved 2 of those beads filled with poison into his drink.
Poisoned.
Udo Graf chokes, closes his eyes, dies. 2 miles from the German border.
Just short of Germany. And the attendant.
The source only calls her a brave Jew, but strongly implies it's Sebastian's friend Rebecca, a survivor who saw Sebastian suffering and felt compelled to deliver the justice Sebastian couldn't or wouldn't. Udo died alone, denied his glorious homecoming, stopped by this invisible hand just before reaching the land he thought he served.
So this extraordinary story, narrated by truth itself, it really provides this clear synthesis, doesn't it? How deception and honesty function as tools. Nico's decades of lies, born from that accidental complicity and fear, they culminate in a final, undeniable truth, and the highest act of cheesed shell emet.
A selfless, true kindness, only possible through the ultimate sacrifice, and Sebastian's life fueled by obsession, vengeance based on incomplete truths. He only achieves justice through the sacrifice of the very person he spent his life hating.
And Fannie's search ends with finding the truth about Nico's tormented soul, and maybe an unexpected renewal of love, or at least deep compassion for him.
While Udo Graf's story is just one of total failure, his lies brought temporary power in Washington, sure, but he never got that glorious homecoming, that resurgence he lied to himself about. Died alone, 2 miles short of his promised land.
That unusual narrative structure, truth needing a voice, needing to don the colorful robe of a parable to be heard. It really reminds you, doesn't it?
Right.
Unvarnished truth is often too painful, too abstract. It needs story, drama, irony to be absorbed.
Exactly.
And as we close this deep dive into these survivors' lives, the cost of memory, we should leave you, the listener, with that provocative thought from the source material. Sometimes a lie is merely truth that is yet to happen.
Think about that. Nico's whole life was based on lies, right? Posing as German, funding the hunter anonymously, that Hollywood facade. Yet every single one of those deceptions built the platform for the final, ultimate truth that saved his brother and brought justice, after a fashion, to Udo Graf. What lies, what uncomfortable secrets might you be holding on to today that are simply truths waiting for the right, traumatic moment to finally unfold?